Good evening, everyone, to another Sunday Live. And now, first, let me have a look who's there already, because I see a lot of going on in the chat. I saw Katrina was the first once again. Hi, Katrina. Then we have Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Dano. Hi, Chaturet. Hi, Alexander. Hi, Igor. Hi, Dude. Hi, Adam. Hi, Phoenix. And hi MS. I should have everyone who's written at least a comment already. I'm sorry that some people are looking for soccer today, probably because the Netherlands are playing the Czech Republic at the moment. I will jump in a little bit later in that game, but it's Sunday, so I thought I should do my live stream as often as I could. It's the 23rd already anyway. That's how time goes by. That means 23 weeks I'm already doing that. Oh boy. So, welcome. I will not be able to have a look at your comments all the time in between because, as you can see on that side, you usually see my big screen. My big screen is there because I need some notes. I thought it's now more than 5 years since the Brexit referendum, and a lot of people seem to be, well, what do I call it? Play a little bit with history. And so I thought I'm going to make a longer video soon about the whole chronology of Brexit. I still only have my German notes, so I will not read the full text to you or whatever today. But I want to go through the steps of the timeline and remind us all a little bit how that worked. And for that, still gonna need my teleprompter, and so I will not see everything you're doing because my teleprompter is connected to that one, and I have to have it in big. But I think it's quite interesting to talk about that again and to remind us all how it started and what steps were in between, because it's easy to forget some of that stuff. And so in between, of course, I will have a look in the chat and not completely only look into the camera. So if something in between, I'll take a break from looking at the screen. I will have a look at your comments. But I really want to start earlier than about 5 years ago, because the whole thing started with something we are all quite used to now, and that's a Tory Prime Minister doing something stupid to stay in office. And that was already in 2013, on the 23rd of January. That was when David Cameron called the referendum about the membership of the EU for all the Brits. The referendum was for all the British people, and I'm not talking about the referendum itself now, who went to vote. But it started 2013, so it's already 8 years ago that this madness has started, because David Cameron wanted to stay in office, and that's why he made this promise to hold a referendum, which in the end kicked him out of office. The referendum came on June 23rd, 2016, so we are only 4 days after the 5-year anniversary. There were 382 what do you call it, voting regions, or usually call it constituencies, and they were counted in 382 of them. And as you all know, 51.9% of all the eligible voters that went to the vote on that day voted to leave the EU. And people are always saying in the comments, well, not the majority of the British voted for it. Yeah, but the majority of the British doesn't count. It's the same with the elections here, and people complaining afterwards, although they haven't gone to vote. If you don't go to vote, you can't complain afterwards. And it is one problem of Brexit is that so many young people did not go vote. If you want to blame someone, blame them. because they wanted to stay in the EU and they didn't go vote. And we have the same here. A lot of young people are complaining about the government, but haven't voted, although they were allowed to. And the same was with the Brexit referendum. And it is the majority of the British voters of that day that voted. If you just talk about it in general, I can't, whenever I mention the referendum in one sentence in a video, I can't every time explain the differences between Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales and England, and totally different constituencies and whatnot. If I have to say or remind in one sentence about the referendum, I have to say that the majority of the British people has voted for Brexit. That's just a fact, I'm sorry. And so we are where we are now. And the vote means, because Parliament or the government promised that they would do what the referendum says, that they would leave the EU. Although, we have to recap again, it was not a legally binding referendum, because there's tons of information out there why it couldn't be a legal referendum, why it was problematic to have it a legal referendum. So, with all the Brexiteers denying that, but even Farage admitted that, it was a not legally binding referendum. The decision was not made by the voters in the end. The decision was made by Parliament. The decision was made by the government, because in the end they decided to really trigger Article 50. The voters didn't decide that. They have given advice to the government what they want them to do, but it was not a legal decision. I just want to make that one clear again, because too many deny that in the comments under my videos, and that's really funny, even to deny that. So, and one day later, as we all know, David Cameron resigned as Prime Minister because he totally miscalculated what was going to happen. And he was one of the leading figures of the Remain campaign, which from today's perspective could have been one of the problems, that he was pro-Leave, maybe pro-Remain. Perhaps the Remainers would have won if he would have been pro-Leave. Nevertheless, on July 13th in 2016, Theresa May becomes the new Prime Minister. And she was Home Secretary before that, and she's now head of the Conservative and Unionist Party and the new Prime Minister. And she promised to go forward with Brexit. And the point is, nobody there had a plan what to do, because nobody thought that could be the result of the referendum. So nobody ever thought about any details of how it would work. And that's a problem we are still dealing with today, because none of them, who even the driving forces, didn't think it would work. But even after less than a year, and less than a year of almost no preparations, Theresa May sent on March 29th in 2017, sent the Article 50 letter to Brussels. And with that sending of the letter begins a 2-year timeline for the negotiations for the withdrawal of the UK from the EU. And so, in general, the appointment for the official exit of the UK is there. We will see later, and we all know the official date never worked. But that happened several times already, doesn't it? So for some reason my chat always gets stuck at the moment. But I see we got some more people up. Welcome to the ones that came a little bit later already. I see Henk, I see Biff, I see Brandon, I see Thomas. Fallout Clash of Clans, hi there. I see Tom O'Shea, I see Simon. So, hi there too. Because Theresa May wanted to have a stronger majority for her plans, she set up elections for a new parliament in April 2017, and it went well, hasn't it? Because she really hoped she gets a bit bigger majority for the Tories, so she can easily get the whole Brexit process through Parliament. And there we are back at polls, because a lot of polls have predicted a major victory for May. But the elections were on June 8th in 2017, and the Conservatives lost their majority. And there another problem we are still dealing with today started, because the Prime Minister didn't resign. She continued to be Prime Minister, but only could do that with the help of the DUP. The DUP and resigning is nothing new either, but I'll talk about that in a video tomorrow. We have a health minister that resigned, that will be tomorrow at 6 in the morning. Then we have a new leader of the DUP that will be tomorrow as well. So there's a lot of resigning going on there. But Theresa May didn't resign after she lost the election and continued with the whole Brexit process. And let me have a quick look before I get into the next detail. It's once again warm here, always on Sundays. It will on Tuesday it will be my favorite temperature again, but today when I make a live stream, of course, it's almost 30 degrees again. Oh, there's a discussion going on. I'm always looking in those discussions after the live stream, when the live stream has been processed and the live chat is back there. So then I'm gonna have a look at your discussions. So, but on June 19th in 2017, the UK started the negotiations about the withdrawal with Brussels. And that's only the negotiations about the withdrawal, not about the future relationship, because first you have to make clear where are you after you left before you can negotiate about what's coming afterwards. And there was another problem there. The UK took so long and made those negotiations that problematic that there was no time left to negotiate what's coming after. That's why we're dealing with some extensions later on. In November 2018, the EU ratified the withdrawal agreement. And that's the withdrawal agreement that contains the wonderful Johnson Protocol for Northern Ireland. But in November 2018 already, the 27 heads of state and government of the EU met for a special summit, where they could have done something else, but a special summit, as we know now, they had a lot of time afterwards. And they agreed to the withdrawal agreement, including the Northern Ireland Johnson Protocol. But then it started in the House of Commons. In January 2019 was the first historic defeat for Theresa May, because on January 15th the House of Commons votes on the withdrawal agreement. Because in December Theresa May had postponed the vote because it already showed in the Tory party that she would suffer a defeat. And it was a historic defeat for a Prime Minister, because she lost with 432 noes to 202 yes votes. More than 100 MPs of her own party voted against the withdrawal agreement that their Prime Minister has negotiated. And so it's kind of a mutiny against the party, so to speak. Because one of the big points of contention was Theresa May's backstop. The backstop would have been a solution that would have saved a lot of troubles we have now. but they didn't want it because the backstop said when the EU and the UK during the transition period don't get a new trade agreement negotiated, the whole UK would stay in the customs union with the EU. Plus Northern Ireland would have been part of the European single market to prevent the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland and to keep up the Good Friday Agreement. But that, with the whole UK in the customs union, would have prevented a lot of troubles we have now. Of course, we probably all know by now the reasons why Boris Johnson's government doesn't want that either. By the ERG, they don't want anything, but the Tories don't want to be in the customs union with all their plans they have for deregulation for the future. So we still have to deal with all this stuff with Northern Ireland without the backstop and then with something else. Because everybody knew the whole time that a hard Brexit without a treaty and without a far wider ranging treaty than we have now would mean a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland if there isn't a backstop or another solution like we have today. So, and that is something nobody wanted. Everybody knows what happens if there is again a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. And I just have to add something else here, because a lot of Brexiteers are claiming if the EU does this, if the EU does that, they'll be breaching the Good Friday Agreement. Yeah, they love to blame the EU for everything. But there's one thing, the EU can't breach the Good Friday Agreement. The EU never signed the Good Friday Agreement. It's not a treaty where the EU is one of the signing parties. It's a treaty between Ireland and the UK in the end, and not between the EU and the UK or whatever. So the EU is not part of that deal, and so the EU can't breach it. It's a different thing with the withdrawal agreement between the UK and the EU. The UK can and did several times already breach that agreement. So just to make that one clear. But even if she was defeated, then the backstop still was an important part of the negotiations, because the suggestion coming from the EU was something similar to what we have now. But the Tories were absolutely against that, even more against that than against Theresa May's backstop. And even Theresa May would never have signed the Northern Ireland, that's why I'm calling it Johnson Protocol, that we have now. Theresa May would never have signed that. But in March 2019, she tried again with her backstop and she was defeated again. And they voted again about the withdrawal agreement, and this time it was 391 noes to 242 yeses, and so Theresa May was defeated again. And in March, then, because they couldn't agree on the withdrawal agreement, there was a vote on a no-deal Brexit. This time not about the contract, about a no-deal Brexit. Theresa May has another defeat there, because the House of Commons also votes against a no-deal Brexit. And so that's why she got completely confrontational, because the House of Commons that time, the majority of the House of Commons did everything to prevent Brexit. And because they didn't find any solution, they were voting on an extension in March, on the 14th of March in 2019. And for the extension were 412 MPs, and against the extension were 202. And they gave Prime Minister Theresa May the task to go to Brussels and ask for an extension. Because at that time, with the current timeline of the Article 50 letter, they would have left the EU on March 29th in 2019. And now they want to extend until the 30th of June in 2019. So, and that's why Theresa May 1 day later asked the EU for an extension until the end of June 2019. But the member states of the EU had to agree to it. So, and the Commission wasn't very fond of the extension. And so they have put up some conditions for granting the extension. But on March 21st in 2019, the EU did agree to that extension. But not like the British wanted then. Because the condition for granting the extension was that the House of Commons agrees to the withdrawal agreement. And even Chancellor Angela Merkel was part of that demand. She demanded that too, because everybody always said she was giving them so much slack. No, at that point she lost her, patience as well, because it was just theater. And so last minute, before April 12th, they gave the extension, and so the whole theater could continue until June. But the Parliament was still working on it. I'll come to that in a second, because just want to have a quick look here. I still remember, of course, I was watching the House of Commons a lot that time, even when I had to drive to appointments on the train or on the bus. I was always watching the House of Commons debating on the withdrawal agreement. So that is something I won't forget that quickly. Okay. So let's get to the next step in Parliament, because they have started voting on alternatives then, because they thought we can vote on different plans and see if there's any that can get a majority. So they voted on 8 alternative solutions, but none of them got a majority. And that's why Theresa May even offered her party to resign if they agree to the withdrawal agreement. So if you want to get rid of her, vote for the withdrawal agreement. But even with her offer, they voted again on March 29th, and nothing changes except the numbers a little bit. There were 344 no, 286 yes against the withdrawal agreement. So in April, Theresa May wants more time, because from the end of April to June, it's not such a long time to get everything sorted. And that's why Theresa May tried a new course for that. She let them vote against it 3 times already, and that's why she wants to ask the EU for another extension. So to get a majority for that, she's talking to Labour. But Labour also has conditions then for agreeing to another extension. Because she asked for June, she only got April, and now they're almost falling out of the EU without a deal, because that would have meant an automatic no-deal Brexit. And everybody knew that it was crazy, but everybody at that point of time thought it's absolutely probable that there will be a no-deal Brexit. So on 5th of April in 2019, Theresa May once again asked the EU to give her a 30th June deadline. So it's another extension, because she only got April. She needs another extension until June, which she wanted in the first place. But at that point, the EU said, you're always starting to ask for extensions now. If you have to do this, just take another year, because a year is a time where you might be able to find a solution for all the troubles inside your own party. Until June, you won't sort that. Until June, there's nothing we can do about this as well. But that would have meant one thing, that Great Britain would have to, or the UK would have to take part in the next European elections. But many MPs from May's party don't want to take part in the European elections. So Donald Tusk was the president of the EU Council that time. He was sending a letter to Theresa May talking about this. And Theresa May then said that they will officially take part in the election campaign, but if they ratify before the 22nd of May, which would have been the date of the European elections, they would have cancelled them last minute. And so on April 9th in 2019, the EU offers the UK another extension to make it possible to ratify the withdrawal agreement. But we all know in mid-2019, the whole shenanigans wasn't over even about the withdrawal agreement. And we're not talking about the new trade deal here. We're still talking about the withdrawal agreements or the divorce papers. Oh boy. There were some things, I was making videos on that all the time and so on. When I prepared this, there were even some things I didn't have in my mind anymore. Sometimes of this back and forth with the extension and so on. So that's why I thought it's quite a good thing to talk about this once again. And there was a agreement between the EU 27 about the extension. They left out the date in the first place, because they said in the paper the extension is only as long as necessary and in no case longer as. And that was the point where they left out that date. And they really wanted to do that last minute on the special summit on April 10th in 2019, where they were talking about this. And so in the night, there was really long negotiations among the 27, or the 28 that time, although Theresa May couldn't have been the decisive one there, of course. And so they extended it until 1st of November because the UK didn't want the 1 year extension. And so they gave them another short extension until the 1st of November. Still, the UK has to take part in the European elections on May 22nd if they don't get it all done before that date. And we all know they didn't. If the parliament couldn't do that, they had another term in there until June 1st. They would still be out. So, but in May 2017, it was clear that the UK will take part in the European elections, and the David Lincoln was that he confirmed at that time that they will take part, and they were voting on May 23rd in 2019. So it was clear to everyone that the Brexit until the 22nd of May was off the table. On the 22nd of May, Theresa May was bringing a kind of New Deal to the House of Commons, but what she did was not winning. She did the opposite, because the New Deal was in the core, it's her old deal, with some of the wishes of both sides, of the pro-European opposition, of the liberals and stuff like that, and of the Tories as well. And so the opposition voted on the basis that they could get a second referendum, but that only if the House of Commons votes for the withdrawal agreement. And the Brexit hardliners, the ERG, the DUP, and the Tories, they will be promised that there will be a search for alternative solutions for the Irish border, so the backstop will never be in force. But it didn't work either. On May 24th, Theresa May says she'll resign as Prime Minister and as leader of the Conservative Party. And that happens on June 7th. At least as a leader of Conservative Party, she resigns on June 7th. Sorry. And she will remain Prime Minister until a new Prime Minister is found. It took a bit until they found a new leader of the party, because several people were putting themselves in the position to succeed her, but everybody said at that time that the best chances lie with at that time, Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, because they thought he might bring back disappointed Tory voters that are pro-leave and totally disappointed because of all the Brexit shenanigans. So let's have a look. Someone just bought his goodbye ticket. Yeah, that's the problem when I can't look all the time and the moderators have to watch football. I'm really glad that there are some people that voluntarily help out a little bit, but they can't be here all the time, and so it's a little bit more difficult with trolls when there's nobody having a look on the live chat, and I have to look in the camera on my pinpoints and some stuff. But if there's too much trolling, don't mind telling me in between when I'm looking at the screen. That's why I'm doing this from time to time. Yeah, I think I don't know if Conservator is a big football fan. I haven't talked about it yet. I only said from my point something to him at the last time the Dutch played, but I would think so. I will definitely be watching on Tuesday, so we can take a little intermediate from the timeline. Tuesday will be a really nice game, and tomorrow I will put on my community tab a poll what you think will be the result of the game. So I hope many of you take part in the guessing game about the result for the game between England and Germany on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, of course, there will be at 6 p.m. CET a video of mine, but I won't be around that video at that time. I'll be watching football then, like everybody else here will do, because that's a classic. England, Germany in football, that's a classic. And I really hope it will be a long and exciting game, although I must say in the last game the Germans weren't on their prime, but in this tournament the English team wasn't on their prime yet either. So I hope we will see a good game on Tuesday still, because that's really a classic. And I'm not talking about the Wembley goal, but it will be in Wembley again after a very long time. But I'll put up the poll tomorrow on my community tab, so not here in the chat now, because I still have to go through a little time here, because we're only, after all I told you yet, we are only in June 2019. So still some time to go until today. And in June 2019, on 10th of June, there were 10 candidates to succeed Theresa May. So 10 conservative politicians tried to be the next prime minister. And all the 313 MPs of the Tory party could vote on the candidates. And they have a system that after the first vote, all candidates are out that have less than 17 MPs behind them. So in every round, someone will fall out. In the second ballot, everyone is gone who has less than 32 votes. And so everybody knew until the July 22nd in 2019, everybody should know who the next prime minister is. So until July 22nd, all the 160,000 members of the Conservative Party could vote via mailing ballot. And there was everybody still saying the best chance is with Boris Johnson. I always thought that time, oh no, but the candidates were not all that, how do I put that one? Promising hope for something less chaotic, let's put it that way. So Boris Johnson was in the lead in the whole process. The second was Jeremy Hunt, and Michael Gove was third. And so the others were out, and more and more got out. And in the end, it was, of course, Boris Johnson. And still in the race after some of those rounds was Sajid Javid. I'm not going into the details. I will talk about all the small details in the video I make about this. But I'm choosing Sajid Javid now because he's back in the game now as the new health minister, isn't he? So he was in the race against Boris Johnson that time. And in the end, it was between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt. So Hunt got more than Gove, and so Gove was out. And so it was Johnson against Hunt in the poll by the members. And in the end, we all know who won. But on July 9th, the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn, if you still remember him, they then wanted a new referendum, a second referendum. Because from that time, because his party wanted that, he was talking against Brexit clearly and is demanding a second referendum, because we all know Jeremy Corbyn was pro-leave and not against leaving. And Labour from that time wanted to fight for Remain in a second referendum. They should have done that in the first place. And Boris Johnson then on July 23rd won the race for party leader and prime minister with 66% against Jeremy Hunt, but everybody at that time expected that. And on July 24th, Boris Johnson was officially made Prime Minister by Her Majesty, and so the whole Brexit shenanigans continued. He immediately put up his cabinet, and the new cabinet, because more than half of the cabinet was exchanged, is full of Brexit hardliners, and that made absolutely clear. With Dominic Raab as Foreign Secretary, Priti Patel as Home Secretary, it was absolutely clear where this journey was going. In August 2019, by the way, Boris Johnson traveled to see Chancellor Merkel in Berlin. And because it was completely stuck at that time, and then he was fighting the backstop. Because he said, we can't have the backstop, we need alternative arrangements. But it didn't work to go to Germany, because Chancellor Merkel still wanted the backstop, because that was the thing Theresa May at least agreed to. There were other solutions, but the British never agreed to, none of the government. And then there came the part some might have forgotten, John Bercow will not have forgotten that one. That was Boris Johnson proroguing Parliament on the 28th of August in 2019. The opposition was completely against it, but the Queen did allow it to prorogue Parliament until October 14th. But that was the point where the House of Commons went to court. And so in the beginning it was a double defeat for Johnson. First of all, he was defeated in court because the prorogation was called illegal by the court, and the House of Commons started his own course to prevent the Brexit course of Boris Johnson. Although still he was on his course to leave the European Union on October 31st, if necessary, without a deal. But some of the members of Parliament got a bill into Parliament and through the Parliament that forced the government to show a deal with the EU. If they don't have a deal, they have to ask for an extension until January 31st in 2020. And we all know it worked. He couldn't show a deal and he had to ask, although we all know how he did that. Because they wanted to prevent the no-deal Brexit. So that was the point when Boris Johnson decided that he can only succeed with new elections. And there at the same time were the shenanigans, who has to go to the EU to ask for the extension. And then we know how it went with the letter. But he wanted to have early elections, but he failed in Parliament on October 15th. Yeah, it was about the prorogation already. Just skip a little bit because not all the details have to go through how the court stopped Boris Johnson prorogation and stuff like that. I'll make a detailed video on that too, but I thought it's a good thing to go through it a little bit. If there was anything you have a question on from what I was talking about yet, that's why from time to time I try having a look in here. Yeah, Katrina, they even had to go to court to make him write the letter. But as I said, the smallest details I will go in with the video then. I just want to take a little bit of the main points here and take you a little bit with me. On October 17th in 2019, the EU and the UK finally agreed on a new withdrawal agreement. All the time it was Michel Barnier, by the way, negotiating for the EU. And at that time it was Michel Barnier and his UK colleague Stephen Barclay that in the end negotiated the new solution for the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. And that is the protocol we have now. They agreed on that in the negotiations, but still Parliament hasn't agreed to it. And that's when something happened that was a little bit historic, because for the first time in 37 years the House of Commons met on a Saturday. I still remember that one because I was always watching, as I said, the sessions of the House while I was on train, on the bus and whatever, where I'm going to appointments. But that was the one I was watching at home because it was on a Saturday. And there was a lot of fighting there. And they were talking about, because of all they have seen before, they were talking about voting for the withdrawal agreement. But they expected a new trade agreement not before 2023 at that point, because of all the extensions, all the shenanigans and so on. But on October 19th in 2019, the House of Commons once again postponed the decision on the withdrawal agreement. And only 306 voted with Boris Johnson for it, and 322 voted for the Letwin bill that just meant another postponement of Brexit. There were a lot of bills at that time that were really interesting, and of course the Brexiteers are still blaming John Bercow for allowing all this, but I haven't seen anything that was illegal what he did. And some, by the way, with all the discussion about the House of Commons and what John Bercow illegally allowed them to do, that I made a video that time. It's 2 years ago. But I made a video about the German Parliament versus House of Commons there, because in Germany, in the Parliament is in control of its schedule and timetable. Not the government. The Parliament decides what bills they vote on, and so on and so on. And so calling it illegal that members of Parliament are allowed to table bills or to even speak on a certain topic was something that was really strange for me. I know the House of Commons for quite some time, but it still feels completely strange if you know a completely different form of protocol in Parliament. And so that was a really weird one. But then Boris Johnson tabled another bill with a Brexit deal, and Bercow didn't allow a new vote on the Brexit deal. And he said there is no new situation compared to the Saturday before when Johnson lost. So he doesn't have to allow a second vote on that, exactly the same one. The bill hasn't been changed substantially, so we didn't allow another vote on it. And it's another part of the legal tradition in Parliament. In the same session, they can't vote twice on the same bill. And I have to keep it a bit shorter. I'm seeing. So it went back and forth, and it still didn't happen on October 31st in 2019. So the 27 ambassadors of the EU decide to give them another extension, but on that day they didn't decide for how long. On October 28th in 2019, they decided that the UK can stay in the EU until January 31st in 2020. France first was against it, but in the end they also agreed, and so all the 27 agreed to the new deadline on January 31st, 2020. And on October 29th, Johnson got what he really wanted at that time. 438 against 20 was the vote on new elections. They first wanted to hold elections in 2022, but then they vote to have early elections, and that meant that we had elections on December 12th in 2019. And so the deal between Johnson and the EU is off the table again. In the polls before the election, just a week before, the Tories are in a lead in the polls. But it looked like the lead was melting. And they only had a majority of 28 seats or something. So it was, because of all the polls, quite an exciting election. But what the election in the end really was quite surprising. Although it's only due to first past the post. Everybody has to agree to that. With 43%, you can't have such a big majority in Parliament in any other form of voting system. that only works with first past the post. And I'm criticized by a lot of Brexiteers for that, but I'm still saying this. First past the post is much less democratic than proportional representation, or a combination of first past the post and proportional representation. A pure first past the post system is one of the worst systems and one of the most undemocratic voting systems. And I stick to that. And they got an 80-seat majority with just 43%. And so, in the end, Boris Johnson then, in December 2019, got a majority for his withdrawal agreement. The House of Commons did ratify it in January 2020, and so on January 31st, 2020, the UK officially left the EU. But they haven't left the single market and the customs union that yet, because part of the withdrawal agreement was a transition period. It was originally a transition period between the letter of to trigger Article 50, and then a 2-year period to prepare for the future of it. But they took so long to negotiate on the divorce and for the Tories to get their divorce papers through their own House of Commons and through the House of Lords, of course. But the House of Lords could have stopped that for quite some time as well, but they didn't. And so on January 29th, so 2 days before the official exit, because they had to wait that everything in the UK with the ratification process really worked, even the House of Lords. So on January 29th in 2020, the EU Parliament ratifies the divorce papers. And it was quite clear. It was 621 MEPs for the withdrawal agreement and 49 against the withdrawal agreement and 13 abstentions. So on January 31st, 2020, UK leaves the EU. And that's the exit day, not January this year. That was the end of the transition period. And so then started the transition period a little bit longer than originally, because they should have had much more shorter than originally. They should have had much more time for the negotiations for a new agreement, but they took so long to get the withdrawal agreement, so they only had 11 months to get the new deal sorted. And instead of concentrating on that one, they put out, only days after they left, on February 19th in 2020, a new immigration law. And you know what Priti Patel is doing with that. I talked about this in several videos already. And they made clear that they will not extend the transition period. That means they cemented that there's only 11 months for the negotiations of the withdrawal agreement. Now just give me 1 second. Sometimes there are visitors coming from the sky here. That's when you have to leave all windows open. But quickly, let's have a look. Oh, by the way, Emin, hi. I for some reason I don't hear anything. My tone must be out. Thank you for the super chat. For coffee, Altkölsch or Radler, or Roboplant for the poor Robofish. Oh, by the way, the first to mention the Robofish. Just to make that clear for once. I didn't put it in now because the batteries are full now, and then the automatic shutdown works. It only swims for 6 minutes. It's just the way it's made. It's a Robofish. It's not a real fish. But I can... But on screen it seems to look quite real, I must say, and it's even fun. I realized that myself. It always looks as if he's changing direction, but on film it looks like that although he's swimming in circles, it looks like he's coming from the right, from the left, from the right, from there. It's quite funny. I haven't seen that before. So it's a robo-fish. You don't have to worry about the fish. If I put in some plants or whatever, you don't see the fish anymore. That's why I didn't do that. But I have to get a proper glass or something for it. But thank you, Eamon, for coffee. I hope in about 2 weeks or something, I can finally have a beer with some friends in a beer garden again, because we can go to beer gardens for a long time, but then my vaccination is really completely gone through my system. I have to wait until the 9th of July, and I was avoiding a lot of stuff before that. But then I'm really fully vaccinated. I got my second jab. By the way, my arm hurt less than the first time, but I was tired as hell. I'm still not as awake as I usually am today, because it was on Thursday that I got the jab, and the same day I got really tired in the days after that. Today is better, but not completely over yet, but I heard about that several times before that happened, so I wasn't concerned about that. What do we have? The SPD? The SPD UK Labour. Well, I must admit the SPD and Labour are quite different nowadays. They don't have that much in common. As a professional, I would say your fish shows disturbing repetitive behavior. Yeah, it's programmed to do that. No, it is supposed to change directions, but for some reason it doesn't do it, and the ball came with the fish, so they made it that way. Then we had all the negotiations on the new free trade agreement. That is not that long ago, because it was in the second half of the year 2020 that a lot of that happened. Those videos are much fresher than that, and I just wanted to do today until the official exit of the UK from the EU. I will make a complete video from 2013. As you saw, I have all those notes already, but I have to translate them still. And then I'll make a quite long video where I go about all those detailed dates. And then I'll include the discussions on the free trade agreement as well. But as a reminder today, I just wanted to go from 2013 to the official exit. And then the whole Boris Johnson time you will still have in mind from the videos from last year if you're here longer, and they are still all there. But I will include that in the long video. But I think that's enough with dates and details and stuff. I don't want to bore you. I hope you're not too bored today anyway, but I wanted to do that recap because too many people have forgotten how all that started. And so I wanted to do a short recap today with a few details and so on. And I will do a longer one, as I said in the video, where I really have a full script for that, where we'll go into all those details again, about the letter, the different court hearings and stuff like that. Agreed on all your quotes. UK Labour under Corbyn kinda comparable to the SPD. Yeah, kinda in their success, especially. The SPD is a bit in trouble at the moment. And for the very first time, we had polls here where they were only 1 percentage point ahead of the Liberals. The Liberals here in Germany are close to overtaking the Social Democrats. That never happened before. And it also never happened before that in federal polls the Social Democrats were not strongest or second strongest party, but the number 2 are still the Greens at the moment, and the SPD is only on 3rd place and in danger on slipping to 4th place. So that's really a new. And even in my hometown here, we have to expect a race for the general election in September between the Christian Democrat candidate and the Green candidate. Although it was always in the history of my hometown between the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats, this time for the very first time, it most probably will end between the Conservative candidate and the Green candidate. So that's a new here as well in federal elections. Oh, Ben, you will have to watch your language a little bit. YouTube blocked you. Not you in general, but your comment. KFH, hi. I'm only doing Q&As every several weeks. I'm not doing that every week. That's why you couldn't find a post on that, because in 3 or 4 weeks I will do that again, and then in the week before I will put out a post where you can leave the questions. But I'm not doing this every week. That would be probably too boring. I have to pick some topics here as well, and not always answer the random questions or something. Christian, Mark, you might as well get used to the Greens winning unless CDU goes green too. Well, at the moment, it kind of looks like that the... Sorry, I have to take the fish out because it gets leaky if it's in too long. That's the other problem, why it turns off after 6 minutes. The current polls, I made a video on my older German channel a few days ago. The hype for the Greens seems to be over for now, because we are back at the, let's say, normal numbers before the nomination of Annalena Baerbock as the Green Chancellor candidate. The Greens were back to 20%, 10% behind the Christian Democrats. So I wouldn't count or put my money on a Green Chancellor yet. But of course, the election is not over until election day, and we don't know what will happen. And of course, they still might win, but the voter decides, and that happens in September, and we are almost in July. That means time flies by. I know that. I started with it's my 23rd live stream already, and I didn't think I would do 23 in a row, to be honest, but it's quite fun. So directly interacting with you is fun, even if it's always on Sundays. But that's really the time when I usually can do it, not under the week. But the elections will be interesting. I'm quite sure about that. The campaigns really haven't started, although the Social Democrat candidate was touring in my district here yesterday, at least in 2 neighboring boroughs. I saw that on Facebook. She was visiting people at home. They slowly start the campaign here, but the campaign for federal election hasn't really started. That will happen after the summer break, because we have summer holidays soon, and so I expect that to be a really hot 4-week campaigning here in Germany. The last 4 weeks will be the hard campaigning trail. So it will not start that early. Although a lot of us are not going on holidays this year because we're reasonable, so we might start in the beginning of August with campaigning here. Could be. If you, by the way, are a patron of mine, if you haven't joined my Discord yet, because I see that a lot of members and patrons are not on Discord yet, although they can. Please write me a message, and then I'll send you another link. Those links are only valid for 24 hours all the time, because you should really use that if you're a patron or member to be on my Discord, because there I really post the links now to every video I publish during the day on all my channels, and so you can just have to go to one place where you can find all the videos. you get a complete overview of my merch there, by the way, because some already told me that they missed some of that, and so I put in a place there where you can see them all as well, more easily, and you have the chance for discussions there. I have channels there for German and for English, so if you don't speak English, only watch my videos because you understand a bit, but you're from Germany. I know there are some from Germany that don't speak English that well and don't want to write or anything, but there are the rooms for the German channels as well, so you can have chances to chat in English and in German there. If you're not a patron or a member, think about it, because you can join us there and have some nice discussions there. Sometimes some funny links as well from some of my other viewers. It's nice to have a little community there, and so I would love to see you as a Patreon if you want to join us. But for today, I think I unnerved you enough and gave as I said, in 3 or 4 weeks there will be another chance for a Q&A. But you will see that about a week on Monday, Tuesday, before the thing. I will publish that on my community tab. So keep an eye on my community tab. I post there something every day. As I said, tomorrow there will be the poll about the game, the football match, England-Germany, and what result you expect. And there's a lot of other things there too. I post in between. For today, I just want to say thank you. Iman, I definitely will have a beer in 2 weeks in the beer garden here. I'll drink on you then. Thank you very much again. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning at 6 with Matt Hancock. And I'll definitely see you again also next week on the live stream. Because I checked, there is no semi-final or whatever on Sunday where Germany might take part. Otherwise, I would have cancelled the live stream. I'm sorry. I have to watch that if Germany is involved. And I will watch the rest of the Netherlands game now as well. And I don't even know how it is at the moment. If somebody knows and wrote that, I don't know. But have a nice rest of the Sunday. Thank you for joining me here. It's always nice, and enjoy the rest of the day. Here we have nice weather, at least. So, see you soon.